Hey everybody, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and my 7 months without a haircut is not behaving well. Today's episode is about Candleshoe. Candleshoe, a movie you probably haven't heard of, unless you're my age, and even I hadn't heard of it, except whenever, when we did the Freaky Friday episode with Jodie Foster, when that ended, it recommended Candleshoe to me weeks ago. So yeah, I've seen that name around, but never actually heard of it. It's a movie from 1977. It's an 1978. It says here. I don't know why this IMDb says 1977. Either way, late 70s. Shot at Pinewood Studios. Probably a little after Star Wars was shot there, and all the James Bonds and stuff were shot there as well. Yeah, it's an hour and 40 minutes. It is, like I said, stars Jodie Foster, and this is a far cry from her 12-year-old prostitute in the streets of New York in Taxi Driver. Yeah, it's a little bit different, but she's also, just like she was in Freaky Friday, she's a bit tomboyish, and she is living in the streets of LA. And yeah, she's basically runs with a gang of kids who just mess things up and screw with people, even though they have no intention. They steal stuff. They have no intention of keeping it. They really don't want it. Like, they steal a basketball from a bunch of kids, and they just throw it away. They steal food and just mess with people. They're a teenage gang in Los Angeles that is not wearing either red or blue bandanas. Yeah, so it's a little bit of an Oliver Twist kind of thing in LA, but that's a very small part of the movie, and there's no Finnegan. So Jodie, she plays Casey Brown. She goes home to her foster parents, who really just took her in pretty much for the money they would get for taking in a child like that. She comes home to find that there's a guy waiting to take her away from them for money. In every situation, that is not a good idea. They were basically, as far as these foster parents are concerned, they were just selling their daughter for a couple $100 at best. Yeah, that's kind of a bleak thing, because this guy just grabs her and says, "Okay, you're coming with me," and they grab a pile of clothes, I think, and that's it. I don't even think she gets that. She just gets driven away, and she thinks it's the cops, like it's a detective that's taking her down to the juvie. No, this guy takes her to a hotel, which is even worse. And she gets in the hotel, and they're like, "Get a bath." No, that's still getting worse. So it's starting to the movie. It starts on uncomfortable ground right from the start, and just if shot today, so many more alarm bells would be going off, and you'd be very, very concerned for this girl. She's 14. She she gets a bath, and she's standing in the bathroom looking at her hair, like it hasn't been washed in a while probably, and she's just standing in a towel, pretty much up to here, so there's nothing lewd about it. But two dudes just walk right through open the door, and she's like, "Doesn't anybody knock?" They just walk through and like, "Hey, you put on this dress." Still not getting any better. So they introduce him. She's introduced to this guy who seems very important. He takes her to dinner. Again, more bells. Which I, honestly, that's a little bit more gentlemanly than anything else you'd expect to be happening to this girl at this point. But he takes her to dinner, and she immediately realizes this guy's a con man, because she's one herself. And he's British, and he's like, "Okay, I'm here. I'm going to take you to London, because basically, when the guy picked her up at her house, her apartment, he basically pulled her shirt aside so he could see a scar on her back. That, okay, scar on her back. It somehow this information must have gotten out to the world, and she was discovered to be the right age with a scar on her back that matches what could be of a 4-year-old girl from many years ago who disappeared from England. And he's basically taking her to England so they can scam this old lady who's looking for a grandchild, scam this old lady out of a fortune. So she's into this. She's like, okay, as long as I get a cut, I'm fine, whatever, free trip, nice hotel, you know. If it doesn't work, I still get a free trip and nice hotel, and I'm pretty sure I can scam this guy even further. She's street savvy. She knows what she's doing. And, yeah. So they get to London, and again, I'm not going to tell you much more further than this because there's a lot of little things in here that are kind of neat that I don't want to spoil for you. But let me say this. Takes her to London, they meet the old lady, and he's trained her on all the little details of this girl's life. What she liked, she liked rice pudding, and she liked shortbread cookies, like all the food things, apparently, that would make Grandma go, oh, this is my grandchild. So she hits all the right notes, but she outwits everybody in the room to help in a way that even the con man doesn't realize. It's kind of cool because she is, again, you root for her. She's smart and she knows what she's doing. You think that she doesn't care at all, but she's in it for the money, and she's basically if she can get inside that house, she can do some research and hopefully find a treasure that was hidden by one of the people by the man who founded the old home in which the old lady lives in. So, yeah, like he's like an old pirate, and he supposedly stashed a treasure inside that house, this big elaborate house in England. So, yeah, is that treasure real? And there seems to be more going on in that house once we get there than most people will realize, especially Casey. Casey shows up and she starts seeing little faces, little kids peeking around corners, running away real quick. Who are these kids? And the old lady's closest companion is her butler. What's his name? Priory. It's not a great name, I don't think, for a butler, but I'm used to Alfred. But anyway, Priory takes care of her and the kids, and we get to learn a little bit about who these kids are. And will Casey get along with them? Will they undermine her plans? And there's a pretty big secret that Priory is hiding as well, which I will not give away. But yeah, it's a fun little adventure. It gets farcical toward the end. There's a big fight sequence, believe it or not. This is not an action movie by any means. It's comedy. There's a little fight scene toward the middle, which then slips into a slightly racist moment. A slightly racist moment for just a few seconds, and you'll know it when you see it. Okay. Surprisingly, there was not a racist commentary thing like, outdated depictions, but again, it's so slight, and it's actually a musical cue, believe it or not. Okay, there's a little Chinese girl, and the second she looks like she has to defend herself, she does a karate pose, and they do the yes, that actually happened, but it's 1977-78. It's gonna be that's the way it's gonna be. The fact that they didn't call out Bruce Lee at that moment is astounding. Anyway, the cast is astounding. David Niven plays Priory. Priory. The butler. David Niven is kind of the all-star in this thing. He does a lot. But, I mean, Jodie Foster obviously is the center of it all, and she's great. She has, at times, it seems like she throws on a New York street tough accent, but she's from LA, so I'm not really sure what she's going for at this point. Thankfully, she doesn't have to adopt a British accent. Um, but yeah, all the other kids are British. The grandmother is obviously British, and so is David Niven. The grandmother, by the way, Helen Hayes, the first lady of American theater, is what she's been known as. She spent over 80 years on the stage, in television, and film. She's a big get, and she's pretty much like she's really important to the story. So, but you got Jodie Foster facing off with David Niven and Helen Hayes, and the guy that sort of kidnaps her and is a con man, Leo McKern. He he is. I swear that John Rhys Davies, from Lord of the Rings and Indiana Jones, I swear he stole this guy's accent, because obviously this guy's older than John Rhys Davies, because he's not been around for a while. But yeah, the kids are great. And how everything all fits together toward the end, it did sort of feel like, okay, hey, we're coming to the hour and 20 mark. Why don't we sort of wrap this up? And so it just sort of does rush toward the end with a lot of stuff happening, and the action jumps up a little bit. But for the most part, this is a fun little mystery movie, as Jodie Foster as Casey follows the clues and tries to sneak her way around all the other people that she has to deal with in order to get the riches, get the big money payoff that she's hoping for. Will she get what she wants? You'll have to watch the movie. I think you'd enjoy this. It's if you like some of the more classic older films, it doesn't have the pacing of a modern kids film. It doesn't have people yelling at the screen, or you know how half the Disney television series usually involve a girl or more girls when they are surprised by something, or something they just or they just yell things for some reason. It's not like the Home Alone Kevin thing, but it's a weird thing that they do all the time. They don't have that in this movie. There's no looking at the camera. So it's, like I said, it's a fun, more action toward the end, but it's a fun little mystery. And I think you'd enjoy it. I did. I was not sure what to make of it, and it pleasantly surprised me. So give it a shot. Candleshoe is on Disney Plus. A great cast. It's honestly, yes, the very beginning of this movie, every step along the way, I'm just going, this doesn't seem like it's going to turn out well for her. All the adults seem to be perfectly fine with a girl being taken away, and at every step, and this girl should be more concerned too. Yes, she's streetwise, but I think she would have fought back a little bit more, rather than you take a bath. Okay. What's happening here? Usually these things, if you're streetwise, you know these things don't turn out well. Anyway, yeah, it's a Disney film, so they're not going to get creepy about it at the beginning. So they're not going to get creepy about it at all. Anyway, let's pick tomorrow's episode.
503.
503. In the old list, early 500s were the Star Wars films. I wonder... Oh. Holy crap, I was right. We've fallen in the Star Wars thing. I've not had a Star Wars anything since May? It's October. The only thing is, I've seen this already. Well, it's Star Wars, so I've seen everything. But still, the idea, I've seen all the major things. But this is a series. So we're only going to watch a few episodes, and maybe I'll watch some of my favorite ones. But I don't want to spoil anything when I talk about it tomorrow. But either way, 503, Star Wars Rebels. Yes, Star Wars Rebels. So yeah, it's a series that is well beloved and has a lot of iconic characters. Wasn't too sure about it at first because it is very much more kid focused. But you know what? I'm not going to talk about that now. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. Why am I talking about it now? If you want to watch along, start from the beginning. I'm going to revisit it myself. So we'll talk about it tomorrow on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. See you then. Bye.